Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Today, Brandi from the DIY Struggle and I are bringing you another fun collaboration. This time we are doing some decoupage home decor, a little more on the collab in a little bit. Let's jump right in. First up, I have this beautiful Queen Bee decoupage shutter. So I found these shutters actually on the side of the road. Someone down the street from me is cleaning out their house, getting ready to sell it, and has been putting a bunch of stuff out on the curb for free. So I scooped these up and I actually got 2 sets of them. I only want to use half of one of the sets of shutters. So taking my screwdriver, I just took the hinges off so that I could separate these out. Then I took my crud cutter because this thing was absolutely filthy and gave it a really good cleaning. Once it was all clean, I just took my palm sander. There were several layers of built up built up paint over the years. So I at least wanted to sand it down to a smooth surface. And then taking this heirloom white satin Rust-Oleum spray paint, I gave it 2 good coats. Next comes the fun part. So I got this Queen Bee decoupage paper from the Farmhouse Market Etsy shop. I will link that in my description box below, but I wanted to try a different method of decoupage that I've never done before, and that is the iron-on method. So what you want to do here is take your Mod Podge, cover your whole surface with a good coat of the Mod Podge, and then you want to let it dry. So once I laid my Mod Podge down, I let that dry completely, and then taking my iron with no steam, I'm going over all of the flat surfaces of my shutter with that decoupage paper laid down on top. You want to make sure that you have some wax paper laid down in between your iron and your decoupage paper so that you don't burn the surface. And I did get a little rip there, but that's okay. In the end, you can't even tell. Now to get the shutter parts, my iron was not going to fit on all of these. It wasn't a flat, smooth surface. So I just took my X-Acto knife and started cutting slits all through my decoupage paper so that I would have little strips that I could then seal down. And the way I did this was just taking my heat gun and I heated up that glue the same way you would have done with an iron, and then just took this little, this is actually like it came with my Mod Podge like roller. So I assume it is for like decoupaging and smoothing out your paper or whatever material you are using. I did end up burning or like melting this thing a little bit because it's not silicone, it is rubber. So you want to be careful there. The heat gun gets really hot, but this ended up working out really well. So I just continued to do that all the way along my shutter and including these little detail lines that were on the outside little part of my movable shutter pieces. I have no idea what you would call those things, but you know what I'm talking about. So once I got all of my paper attached, I just took a 220 grit sandpaper and started sanding down the edges, just making sure to sand down and away from my paper so that I didn't lift up anything that I didn't want to. I was going for a rustic look with this piece, so I did also take some sandpaper and rough up all of the little individual shutter pieces along with all of the edges. And for this one, I took a 100 grit sandpaper just to make it a little rougher. Next up, I am taking some antique Waverly wax and just going over the entire piece. I know we spray painted this in the beginning and we're kind of just covering all of that up, but I did want to have a nice, clean, smooth surface to start with, and then taking my wax and just adding in all of that aging detail everywhere that the paint is showing. Once I was happy with the distressing, I just grabbed my hinges, attached the 2 sides of the shutters back together, and I did end up distressing the hinges with some antique Waverly wax as well. And that was it for this piece. It really was not too difficult to do, and I really did enjoy the heat transfer or iron-on method of doing decoupage. I will definitely use this method again in the future. Friends, if you haven't checked out Brandi's channel yet, what are you waiting for? She does all kinds of DIY projects and has tons of inspiration on her channel, from thrift flips, room makeovers, Dollar Tree, budget-friendly DIY projects. She also has a Try It Tuesday that she does once a month, testing out different things like chalk paints, wood fillers. This month she's testing battery brands, so make sure you check her out. Let her know that I sent you. And today we are teaming up once again to bring you some amazing decoupage inspiration for your home decor. We are both doing giveaways in our videos today. So for mine, you can enter for a chance to win two napkin sets, I should say, decorative napkins, 2 fabric fat quarters, and then 2 of the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide sprays, which I used on my mirror and thought that was super unique and would love to give back to one of my viewers. So to enter this giveaway, you just need to write a comment in the comments below, add the word giveaway to the end, and you can also enter to win both my giveaway and Brandi's giveaway that she's doing over on her channel. So the only question remains, do you dare to decoupage? Let's get back into it. Now this next piece has a story to go along with it, which I will get into here in a little bit. So I grabbed this mirror from Facebook Marketplace. I thought it had a scratch down the side that was going to need filled in with some wood filler, but that actually wasn't the case. It turned out to be just fine, but the knob here where it was holding the mirror together was a little bit loose, so we do need to end up fixing that. But this is just one of those like old standing mirrors, super simple. The foot did have some like dog chew marks and scratches, but that's nothing we can't fix. My son was happy to help with the video of the mirror and show off some of his dance moves. Starting out, we're going to make some of the repairs. So I have this Durham water putty, which is actually a powder. So I just scooped a little bit of the powder into a little souffle cup there and add a little splash of water. Mix it up really well, and then I'm going to start to spread this on those little cracks at the foot of my mirror. So you want this to be a pretty thick consistency, but I'm wondering if I almost made it a little bit too thick, and I'll show you why here in just a minute. But I take my the Durham's water putty and I just start filling in all of those cracks. While that sets to the side and dries, I'm going to take off the back of my mirror. So I'm just prying up these staples and it came off super easy. So I'm going to start painting this whole thing and all of the wood parts, and I gave it 3 coats of the Waverly Ivory chalk paint. Once the water putty was dry, I took some 220 grit sandpaper, sanded it nice and smooth, or at least to what I thought was nice and smooth, and then I went on to paint my foot using the ivory chalk paint as well. So you're going to see here that the paint actually started the water putty actually started bubbling up on me. I don't even know what happened, but I did just sand it down again and then went over it with really thin coats of paint, and that seemed to help. So I'm not really sure what I did wrong there. Maybe I made the water putty a little bit too thick, but I'm going to have to play around with it some more and see if that happens to me again. So next up, we're just going to fix this knob that was a little loose holding the mirror on. And to do this, I actually probably should have done this before I painted, but you know, it is what it is. So I just took some Star Bond super glue and with the accelerator, put the 2 pieces back together, and it is nice and secure now. So the decoupage material I am using for this mirror is going to be some lace fabric. So I just started cutting out some sections of the lace where I liked the design, and I'm going to start placing it around the edges of my frame of the mirror. Then taking some decoupage glue, I am just going to lay down a coat of the glue, and then I am going to add my lace right back on top of it, and we're going to add another coat of the decoupage glue on top of the lace. So this is the normal method that I have always done when it comes to decoupage, and I've never really had too many issues. And with lace, you're really not going to get any wrinkles with it. So I just started adding some various parts of the lace all around my mirror, while also leaving some parts of this to be blank. Once the decoupage glue was dry, I keep wanting to say Mod Podge, but I used a decoupage glue for this one. I just cut off the excess lace with my X-Acto knife. Now comes the fun part of antiquing this piece using some of the Tim Holtz Distress Oxide sprays, along with one of these rubber stamps, the Distress Oxide ink pad, and then also, what else did I grab? Oh, these little like blenders that came from Tim Holtz as well. So this is the first time I've ever used these sprays, and it was a lot of fun. I looked up a ton of tutorials on using them, and I could only find people using them for scrapbooking and not on actual furniture. So I thought this would be a really cool idea to see how it turned out, and I absolutely loved the look I got. So what you do is you want to layer up all of these different distress oxides. So I first took hickory smoke, smudged that out with my blending tool, and then I took vintage photo and I layering it on top of that hickory smoke and then blending everything together. And the way that these work, like they oxidize and they change different colors, and I found out you are never going to get the same look or the same effect twice with these, because there were areas of this mirror that I absolutely loved and tried to recreate and I could not figure it out. But I really love the variation and the way everything came together. So I continued going around this mirror, just layering up all of the different color sprays that I had. And now I want to tell you a little bit about the backstory of why I came up with this piece. So this Distress Oxide I saw when I was searching for some Tim Holtz supplies for this decoupage collaboration with Brandi. And when I saw this image, I immediately thought of the Titanic. I don't know why, just something about the color and the way that it looked on that faucet there. I just was like, oh my gosh, this looks like something that you would pull out of the Titanic. So in my mind, I thought about a mirror, and wouldn't it be really cool if I like distressed a mirror and had it have that like salvaged look, like it was drug out of the bottom of the ocean from the Titanic shipwreck. So you'll have to let me know what you think when you actually see the completed project, but I thought it was just so much fun creating this, and I absolutely love the little story behind my inspiration. To add the salvage patina, I took this rubber stencil and just started adding different sections of the design all around the mirror frame. And then I also took the ink pad itself and started rubbing it all over the edges, all over the lace, and just adding in that blue salvage look that you would find from objects that came out of the Titanic. And I just thought this was so cool looking. Definitely for a specific person though. I don't think everyone would love this look. But then I took my antique Waverly wax and wanted to kind of like darken up the little edges where all of the lace met so that it would stand out a little more and look more aged as well. Alright guys, now we're moving on to getting this mirror to look antiqued, and I had a struggle with this. So I used 3 different paint strippers. The first one I used was pretty liquidy and I wasn't sure how it would work. It was also a super hot day when I did this, and it just evaporated right away and literally did nothing. So next I got this I think it was called Super Strip or Sure Strip, something like that. It was a little bit more gel, Super Strip. It was a little more gel consistency. I thought it might work as it sat on the paint, and I brought it into my garage so that it wasn't sitting out in the sun and evaporating right away. Again, this really did nothing, so we moved on to our third stripper. All right, third time's a charm. The other 2 paint strippers I tried literally did nothing. So I tried this Super Strip. It was supposed to be good.
heavy duty stripper, and it literally did nothing. I was able to peel up this tiny little section right there, and that was after like serious elbow grease. So I grabbed this citrus strip, which I've seen other people use to strip paint. And you can even just tell, just looking at it like really closely, all that paint is just bubbled up now, and it's just gliding right off. So if you ever have to peel paint off of something, buy the citrus strip. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money on anything else. Like, seriously, nothing else. This is coming off so easy now. I don't even have to work at all. And I know I'm not wearing gloves, but turning the camera off, putting my gloves on, and getting the rest of this paint off. So, BRB.
After getting all of that off, finally I'm taking a bleach and water 50-50 mix, spraying it on top of the back side of my mirror where we just scraped all of that paint off of. You let it sit for a little bit to eat through that like mirror effect paint that is on the back that gives it that mirror image on the front. And then I just started dabbing it off with a paper towel. And I just repeated this over and over and over again until I was happy with the way it was starting to look from the front. So you can see here how that's taking away some of the front mirror reflectiveness, I guess it would be, and it just leaving some holes there to make it look aged. So I wanted to antique it up even more, taking this metallic Rust-Oleum spray paint in antique bronze, along with some just black Rust-Oleum spray paint, and I started spraying these over the back. I also added in some vinegar. No, I used the bleach water again, just to lay down a layer of water so that the spray paint wasn't sitting completely on everything, and I just started dabbing it up. It just gave like a little bit of a barrier between the spray paint and the glass surface. So I just repeated this process again all the way over the back just to give an even more aged look to the mirror itself. Now to put it back together, I am adding the mirror back to the wood frame that we just antiqued as well, adding the back on top. And you guys, I was seriously so dumb when it came to this part. I am so upset with myself. So I started stapling down the back, and then I am not very strong and couldn't get all of the staples down. So what did I do? I started hammering it like an idiot.
Oh, I totally broke it. Oh no, I did. Oh, I'm an idiot.
I was so upset with myself here, but I decided I needed to just keep moving along. I was so far into this process. So I got out my Starbond glue, glued the pieces of glass together so that they would not slide around. And then I just took some black paint and some of the antique Waverly wax to make those cracks look like they were authentic and aged and like they were actually there when the ship wrecked. So it ended up looking okay in the end. I put everything back together, and here's a look at how it turned out. I am still very upset with myself for banging on glass. Like, come on now, of course it broke. Why wouldn't it? But I think it went along with the overall story of this piece. So let me know, would you like something like this in your house? Is it a little too out of the box for your style or your taste? What do you think of it? I would love to know. I am absolutely in love with this piece. And last but not least, I have this lamp that I found at the Goodwill. It was $9.99, a little more than I would typically like to spend on something from the Goodwill, but I really love the modern shape of it. So I'm just taking that same antique bronze spray paint from Rust-Oleum, and I gave the base of this 3 coats. So now for this decoupage part, we are going to use some napkins. I actually found these at the Dollar Tree. Aren't they absolutely beautiful for something from the Dollar Tree? And I just started ripping them up and only pulling off the like leaf part. So I did a few different methods on this lamp. On the shade of it, I did where you do the wet decoupage, where you put the decoupage down, put your napkin on top, then put another layer of the decoupage. I tried a few different ways of smoothing out the wrinkles. To be honest, I didn't really care for any of them. I tried using just the paintbrush. I tried the sprayer. I tried my fingers. I really wasn't happy with any of it. I was getting a ton of wrinkles. So then I moved on to doing the same iron-on method that I did in the beginning, and I think that gave me the best results. This piece definitely has a lot of flaws and a lot of wrinkles, but I think in the end it still turned out really beautiful. Once I got all of my napkin parts on, again, I'm just taking some sandpaper to remove any of that excess napkin that I don't need on the lampshade. And then adding some of this nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. I just untwisted it so I had 3 thinner strands, and I did wrap this around the top part of my lampshade, and I gave this 3 separate strands. One was kind of more on the inside, one right on the edge, and then one right underneath, so that it gave it a nice finished look on top. Then I added some 20mm beads all across the bottom, and that was it for this piece. I did make sure that the holes of my beads were facing each other, and here is how it turned out. You can still see the seams where all of my napkins met, but overall I am happy with the way this turned out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Of course, I was a hot mess for parts of this video, and just like Brandi's channel suggests, I showed you the true struggle, and here's another one. I broke the light bulb as I was putting it into this lamp. But we made it through. Don't forget to check out Brandi's channel. Enter the giveaway if you are interested. That's all I got for you today, guys. I'll see you in the next one.